Hello everybody, the Great Dino Ranger here again, back with another review. Today we're going to be taking a look at another birthday item, and that is the Jurassic World Rebirth gigantic Thrashers Eotriceratops. So this is, again, another new species from Mattel from the Rebirth line last year. And I'm really excited to have it because, you know, it's a cool new ceratopsian, even though, again, it's very similar to Triceratops. And before this figure came out, I had no idea what an Eotriceratops was. Apparently it is a more, I guess, I don't know, I have to maybe look back into it, but it might have been just like a larger version of your standard Triceratops, maybe a difference in the skull shape. I'm not sure. I'm not even sure if it's even a real dinosaur. But Eotriceratops is definitely one I never heard of before this figure came out, and that's why I had to look it up. And I think it's just like some sort of other variant of a Triceratops, like maybe a new genus or a new species or something. But it's definitely very interesting because I've never really heard anything about it. So very interesting, but very cool because it is still a new species from Mattel, thus a new species in my collection. And this one, while it does look like a Triceratops, at least Mattel made it slightly different so that it does kind of, you know, like stray away from your classic Triceratops, just to show like these two are different animals. So I really do love the way this one looks, and I can't wait to take a closer look at it out of the box. But going over the packaging, it's your standard Jurassic World Rebirth packaging from Mattel, and you know, you got the Jurassic World Rebirth logo, the cool Spinosaurus, the Mattel logo, gigantic Thrashers Eotriceratops, the sunset jungle background and the colors. And you can see you can move the tail for some cool thrashing action. So again, very much like the primal attack action feature. You guys know how much I love that feature. That one's really cool, and plus I've glazed over that feature multiple times on previous reviews. Here we got the Jurassic World Rebirth logo on that side. Same again on the other. And then here on the back, you get a nice little render of the ceratopsian, and you can rotate the tail, and it looks like its front arms are moving. I've seen a lot of reviews of this one. I think it's a really awesome action feature, very different from your previous ceratopsians, I would say. Gigantic Thrashers Eotriceratops, part of the land assortment. Stomp attack, that's really cool. I mean, that's pretty fitting for a ceratopsian. And then you got like a little head strike, which again is also fitting for a ceratopsian. You got the Mattel logo, bunch of stuff down here. Facts up information, Jurassic World Rebirth, and then we got the Tyrannotitan, which I just got done reviewing previously, so go ahead and check that out if you guys haven't. But yeah, I'm really excited to take a closer look at this one, so let's go ahead and take this out of the box. Alrighty, so here we have the gigantic Thrashers Eotriceratops out of the box. And this one is really cool looking. I really am a big fan of this one. I love everything about it. I love the sculpt, and I love the colors. Yeah, it's nice to have another ceratopsian in the collection, and an interesting one at that, Eotriceratops, which I don't even know, kind of like what I said before, if it's even a full-on valid dinosaur species, because it's always just been portrayed as a larger version of Triceratops. So again, I don't know if it's now reconsidered as just a different species of Triceratops or its own genus. I have no idea. I'll have to look more into it, but it's very interesting. I like how Mattel just like looks up all these different obscure dinosaur species and just makes a figure of it. Sometimes other companies that do like models don't even touch upon those species too. So it's like Mattel is usually like the first. So I think it's really cool how they do that. And again, it also educates the public about all these different species. So I love that a lot. So yeah, this Eotriceratops just looks great. I love everything about it. It's a really cool looking ceratopsian. Starting off with the head sculpt looks really nice. It's like your standard ceratopsian head sculpt, especially that of like Triceratops. I love the skull shape that it has here. It's very, I mean, it's not 100%, but it's very closely accurate to a real-life ceratopsian skull, like that of Triceratops, especially with this little hole right here in the skull, which obviously is not this big towards a real Triceratops, but I like how, because exactly this is where like the nostrils would be. So it's kind of like this really big nasal cavity going on here. So I really do like that. You can see the little nostrils right there as well. And I like the little just lined, textured, wrinkly detail in the skin along this part of the snout, which looks really nice. And you get a little bit more of that on the lower jaw as well. and a little bit under the eye, and the eyes look really nice as well. Maybe a little big, but it's nothing bad, I would say. And you got the little nasal horn right here, which looks really nice, and a really nice beak right here, which I like the little texture they have on the beak. It makes it give it like this keratin look to it, but you can see this little keratin look goes from like right where the nasal horn hits and goes all the way down to maybe around here, and then it kind of fades into the skin, so there isn't really a noticeable stop into like where the beak part ends. So that's very interesting. You got a little bit of the beak here on the lower jaw, which kind of gives it an open jaw position, which is really nice. There is no articulation, but the jaw is open, and there might be a little tongue sculpted in there. It's kind of hard to see on my camera, but there is a tongue sculpted in there. Unfortunately, it's not painted. Nowhere inside the mouth is painted, but you know, it's gonna look dark in there anyway, based on the colors, so it's not really terrible. So yeah, and then this part of the skull is covered in really nice amount of scales, really big plate-like scales, all lined up against each other, which looks really nice. And I like it's kind of like sparsed right here. It's like randomized where they're being put, so that's really cool. And you got a little bit of that on the top, and it goes down, and they kind of end right where this little cheek spike is, and then the entire frill is just covered in scales. And the frill itself looks amazing, beautifully sculpted scales all throughout the frill itself, and you can see a nice little detail in the frill where the holes in the skeleton would be, so that's really cool. Again, just really nice detail along the frill. It just looks really nice. The horns, the brow horns look really great as well, and I like how they're unique and different, so it's different from your classic Triceratops, which is really cool. Nice amount of detail on the horns themselves, which is really nice. And the little row of spikes along the frill look really great as well. Nice amount of detail for how small they are, and you got a lot of nice smaller scales in between this little ridge of the frill, which looks really nice before it fades into like these really large scales. And the same thing can be applied, or can be said on the other side too. And it looks like you got a little bit of some like line texture in the mix with all the scales, which looks really nice. So yeah, I really do like that a lot. And now the frill itself has a very unique, different shape to it. I don't think this is accurate to Eotriceratops at all. I'm pretty sure the frill is going to be pretty much the same as a Triceratops, so it actually would be a bit more rounded and flatter looking, so kind of like this. And luckily the frill is made of a rubbery material, or at least maybe the whole head is. It's a lot more stiff on the face, but it's a bit more, you know, manipulate more towards the frill itself, so it's very soft, so you can kind of bend it in a way to make it be like, oh, this is what it would probably look like. But it's a very unique shape the way Mattel had it. It's kind of thin, so at least at that point it makes it stand out compared to a Triceratops, which I guess makes sense because you want it to look different than a standard Triceratops apart from the size. So yeah, that is really cool, very interesting. On the back of the frill, you got a nice amount of sculpted scales, which look really great. I really do like how Mattel does that. And then moving on to the neck, you got a nice amount of scale work on the top of the neck as well, and on the side, as you can see, before we go into like this more wrinkly tone here on the side. And it's pretty much smooth on the underside right here. There's not a lot of detail, so it's very smooth there. And then here on the body, beautiful amount of scale work on the body. You got some larger scales up here before they kind of slowly fade into the smaller ones, and you got some larger osteoderm looking scales kind of spread out across the body, which is pretty accurate towards some of the skin impressions that we have of Triceratops. They have like those little bumps kind of spread out throughout the entire body, so that's really cool how Mattel added that on there. So yeah, the side looks really great in terms of the scales, so I really do like that. And then you got some kind of like some scales, but again kind of fades into a more of a wrinkly skin texture, so kind of like what we got with the Tyranno Titan, and we've seen it in many other figures from Mattel. So you got some more of the wrinkly texture along the arms and along the side of the body, which look really nice, kind of gives it a really cool little texture to it. I like these little wrinkles on the side of the body right here. Nice amount of muscle definition here in the skin as well. Like you see this little big part right here. Some more wrinkles in the skin along the body and where the arms attach. The arms are very muscular, and have these really cool lined sculpt work in the figure itself, which looks really cool. So I really do like that. And the feet look really nice. Not the correct amount of digits per se. They're supposed to have like 3 on the ground and like 2 tiny ones that don't really touch the ground. But this is Jurassic Park, so to make this a bit more like a Jurassic Park trike, that's fine by me. These aren't really supposed to be 100% accurate. I'm just kind of pointing that out. But nice amount of detail on the hands themselves. Nice little bumpy scale detail along the toes. The claws look really nicely sculpted. Nice amount of scales, tiny little scales along the arms, in addition to like the little wrinkly muscular texture. Nice amount of elephant-like detail on the underside of the feet as well. And then we get to the hind legs. Hind legs again look very muscular with the muscles kind of flexing through the skin. Some nice little wrinkles in the skin as well, where the kneecap is. I like these little wrinkles here towards the shin. Nice amount of scale work on this side right here. A lot of just sparse, or not really sparse, but kind of a bunch of scales with some little larger ones kind of spread out, which looks really nice. And the feet look nice as well with these scales. They're kind of a bit more faint on the feet, but there are some scales on here as well, going down the leg, and some nice detail on the underside. You got the T-Rex logo and the FACSAP information and the the FACSAP code, and then you got the little claws which look really nice. The entire underside, again, doesn't have a whole lot of detail in terms of scales, but you can see some really nice lined detail with the texturing of the skin, which looks really nice, but it's also very smooth as well, so kind of makes it stand out from the scaly top. So yeah, and you get that pretty much all the way out through the rest of the tail, essentially. And here on the back side, a lot of great scale detail going all the way to the tip of the tail. So yeah, Mattel does an excellent job with their scales, and some nice little, you know, indentations from like the muscles and all that, and the wrinkles in the skin down the tail as well, which looks really nice. And the same thing can be applied or said on the other side of the Eotriceratops figure. So yeah, detail is really great on this one. Now articulation, there isn't a whole lot with these type of figures, depending on the action feature. The only articulation you have is just with the legs and the tail. So the legs can move forward and backwards in a very tight ratchet motion, just forward and backwards. And then this tip of the tail can also rotate, but of course I don't really use that. And then, oh yeah, there's also articulation in the head itself, so you can make it twist from side to side. Maybe you can, yeah, you can get it in full 360. How about that? But yeah, you can make it look left and right, which is really cool. And then you got the action feature, which is actually really cool on this one. I really love the action feature. So the action feature, you just, basically it's all with the tail, just like Primal Attack, which I love. So you just move the tail up and down. So by pointing it up, you get the head or the neck joint to make it look down. Push it up, you can make the head look up. So you can make it look down and up, which is really cool. You can have a cool ramming ability, which is really cool. But then if you twist it left and right, you make the arms swing forward and backwards. And I guess you could combine a lot of these in a way, but it's kind of hard to do. But basically, yeah, look at that. You can just make it stomp if you want to, which is so cool. You can make it like stomp onto predators or to humans, stomp on top of a car. Like, that is so cool. You can make it like it's defending itself, like it's rearing up, swinging its arms before it lands back down again. Like, oh my gosh, I love the action feature on this one. This is something I would totally love as a kid, playing with this dinosaur, just having it do this, having it stomp on the ground. It makes it feel alive, like you're controlling a real dinosaur to some degree. So I really do love that. Again, the Primal Attack line had a cool realistic movement with their figures, so you kind of get that with the with this Rebirth line. So that is awesome. I love the action feature with the arms, which give it like this extra bit of articulation. And the feet, or the hands don't really move. They're very loose, but again, it's part of the action feature. So yeah, the action feature is spot on. Now I kind of jumped and went on to action feature. I totally forgot to mention about the colors. The colors are really great on this one. Again, they stand out. It makes it unique for this ceratopsian, especially when you compare it to other ones, especially with other Triceratopses that are also brown. They added some different colors to this one to kind of make it stand out. So I really do like that. Color-wise, primarily the entire body is like this really dark brown color, which looks really nice. Got a nice bright yellow eye with a black pupil, which looks nice as well. And then these two brown horns are painted in like a beige color, which unfortunately is only on the brown horns. We didn't get it on the beak or the nasal horn or the cheek horn or all the horns around the frill. So sadly, would have been nice to see this color applied to other horns on the face. On the frill is very colorful, so it's good for, you know, intimidating other rivals. But you got a little bit like this greenish, maybe faint yellowish color for this part of the frill, as you can see right here. Hopefully you can see it, but you got a little bit of that here and here, and then you got like this I don't know, like this maybe a light brown, somewhat of like a pinkish tan color, as you have it striped along the frill, which looks really nice. And in between those, that tan color, you got a really nice shade of blue in between those, so it gives like a really cool, intimidating appearance on the frill. So I really love that. I love when ceratopsians have colorful frills, because I just think that just looks really cool. So I really do like the colors they have on there. And then you got that same tan color for this part of the body, and it's like a really cool splotchy tone, kind of like what you see on certain salamander species. I guess you could also say a giraffe in some way too, how it's kind of spotty or splotchy. So that looks really cool. Even on the underside is actually where you see it the most. You see it on the lower jaw, all over the underside of the neck, all pretty much the entire underside of the body before it stops right here. And then yeah, it just bleeds up into the halfway up the body and on the front part of the leg. So I really do like the color choice or the pattern they did with this tan color. However, in my personal opinion, I think it would have been nice to see this splotchy color or the splotchy design be only present on the top half of the dinosaur and nothing on the underside. I don't know why, I don't know, it just kind of feels kind of weird to see that on the underside. This seems like something you'd want to see just on the top side, because it does feel a bit naked up here without anything on here. The sides look great. You can keep the sides, you can keep it on the arms. Would have been nice to see some on the legs and obviously on the tail, but at least just have this be on the top side. But that's just my own opinion. I mean, either way, I do like the design that they have right here. So yeah, a really spectacular figure in my opinion. So yeah, let's go ahead and move on to comparisons. Alrighty, so here we have the Eotriceratops next to a human figure. I'm not too familiar with how big Eotriceratops is. I think it's supposed to be a really big ceratopsian. So it's pretty big here next to a human, but I don't think it's not accurate. It should be a bit bigger. Kind of like, you know, how Triceratops has always been portrayed with Mattel, except for the habitat defender, it should be just bigger. But for the most part, it's a pretty good sized herbivore next to a human figure, in my opinion. So I mean, it still works, but obviously I just think it just should have been just a bit bigger. And finally, last but not least, here we have the Eotriceratops compared with the other large ceratopsians within this same size range that Mattel has released throughout the years. We have the massive Pentaceratops, and then obviously the Eotriceratops, and then we have the only Triceratops that's been in this size so far. So yeah, it's really nice to see these three giant ceratopsians next to each other. Obviously the Pentaceratops has the more impressive skull, because it's got like a really huge frill, just a huge head in general compared to the rest of them. But yeah, really cool to see all three of these together. And it's cool to compare Eotriceratops and a normal Triceratops next to each other. Obviously this is the epic evolution one, so it's not entirely like a normal Triceratops, but either way, both of them look really great together, and it's kind of a cool way to compare and contrast the two different species of these ceratopsians. So, but yeah, all three of these just look amazing next to each other. Alrighty, so that's about to wrap it up for this review, everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed it. For my final thoughts, I really do love this figure. I'm so happy to have it in my collection. It's one I've been wanting, and I'm glad to have it. I love the sculpt on it. I love the colors on it, and I really love the action feature on it, especially with the arms. That is so cool. Something I would have killed to have for as a kid. But yeah, it's a really great figure. I mean, I recommend it. It's a cool one. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys again for the next video.